This is Tuesday in the Trenches. I am Coach Steve. That guy next to me is Coach Glenn. Say hi, Coach Glenn.
Hi, Coach Glenn. How are you?
All right. We are the owners of Trench Training, and we train offensive and defensive linemen. And what we're going to talk about tonight on our Tuesday in the Trenches show is athletes and social media. Pretty hot topic. Always is. It gets hotter and hotter as we go because we have more and more athletes on social media, and it's becoming obviously more of a hot topic. As again, some of the statistics are pretty staggering when you look at the amount of people online. We've put some statistics in our article today. 94% of teens are online daily, and 71% of those are saying they are using multiple social media networks. And I actually think that number is probably low. But I do know that like just judging from a teenager that I have, she's pretty much primarily on one social media right now. It seems to be Snapchat, but you have Snapchat and Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. And the kids are on them nonstop, and they're actually using social media more to connect, more to communicate with their peers and their friends and everybody than they are with the actual phone or with texting even. They're using apps to do that stuff now through, again, Instagram and Snapchat and those places. So it's only becoming more prevalent. It's only going to become a bigger part of our lives, as we go forward. So we just want to talk a little bit tonight about some tips on how to deal, or actually some things you need to know about social media as an athlete, and then some tips on how to post. I know there are a lot of schools now that offer courses and seminars for their athletes, both at the professional level, at the college level, and even at the high school level now. We've got coaches that are offering training stuff for their kids on how to use social media because it's become it becomes an issue, and kids need to realize a few things about social media as we go. And I don't know if what you've seen, Coach, in the schools that you've been in, and any of the things they've done to help kids with social media. Have you seen anything? In the schools?
Yeah, actually I have. Just as a matter of fact, just recently this year, there was, I became aware of the fact that many parents from schools all over the place will watch social media, and they will report to the athletic director, to the coach, to the people at the school, things that they see. So the schools have actually started to have certain people in their district follow it. So they're looking, and I do know, in talking with some of the Badger coaches, they actually have people that follow their recruits on all their social media things, and we'll find them and we'll read and see what they're posting and what they're saying, because they're trying to prevent any controversial major problems that come into their program. So it can be an incredibly positive good tool for people to use to get people to know like what kind of a person you are, but it also can backfire. And I think there's a lot of trainings and videos and coaches and administrators that are now starting to put together things like rules, how you're allowed to use it, how you're not allowed to use it, what you can and can't say. When I played back in the day, all we really had was newspaper or TV, and they would tell us, we would have a real brief. It was probably only a half-hour talk, and they would say, the biggest thing that I heard is that they would say, do not put anything out there that can be used as motivation for the other team. So in other words, don't talk smack about another team that they can then post all over their locker room and say, so-and-so said this and so-and-so said that. And that was all they really talked about. They didn't talk about the appropriateness or the vulgarity or the negative stuff that would happen, because not everything was controlled. So if I did an interview and the media guy that was doing the interview wrote a bunch of really raunchy stuff, it would never get edited or put into the paper. Nowadays with social media, as you put in your article here really very well, in an instant, it is public domain, and there's no bringing it back once it's out there. So I think there's many people that are paying very close attention to, how it's used and unfortunately, there's some great athletes that I've seen in the real recent past here that have lost scholarships based on a few things that they've posted.
Yeah, and that's some of the things we want to talk about tonight. The 3 tips for athletes in social media. Number 1 being nothing is private. Right. If you post it, it is public, and that whether you do it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or even Snapchat. And here's the thing: it doesn't even matter if you delete it off of your account.
Right.
Once you put it out there, people can take screenshots. It's so simple to do that with a phone, with a computer, whatever it is. People are going to be they're going to be taking screenshots of the things you say, and it doesn't matter how fast you delete it. Once it's out there, you've made it public. So you have to think that way. Even private messages, guys. I mean, you think about, we gave the thing today. If you send something derogatory to a friend about somebody else, and then that friend gets upset, or they think it's funny to share it, and it gets out to everybody because they decide to share it. So you really have to be careful about what you're doing with your posting, regardless of what it is. It looks like we lost Coach Glenn there. He'll be back in. There he comes. And that's all right. But so again, once it's out there, you can't get it back. So always think about what it is you're sending out. Okay, if you don't think it's appropriate, it's not safe to send it even to a friend. So just don't send it. Just be safe about it. Okay. Second thing is, if you share it or retweet it, it's yours. You own it. So that means if you share someone else's content, someone else's view, someone else's vulgar picture or derogatory remarks, it's like you saying it. Okay, you have to own whatever you share. All right, it doesn't matter what it is. So I see people sharing really, really difficult or derogatory content about politics lately, right? I mean, there's tons of it. It's just the whole news feed is somebody just yelling at somebody else. And guys, it's out there. It's never going to go away. So if you share it, even if you share someone else's belief, people are going to take that as you supporting it. So be careful, because sometimes you even tweet or you repost something that you don't agree with. And if you don't explain it well enough, people will think you're sharing it in support of that thing, right? So you really have to be mindful about what it is you're sharing and who you're sharing it from. Because once you share it, it's yours. Don't you agree, Coach? I mean, you have to own whatever you do. There really is no excuse. You can't say, well, that's his. I just shared it.
Well,
that's not how people look at it.
And I think that it's also important too in this, it's a different topic, but on the same line, is anything that comes out of your mouth, you're responsible for. And I've learned many times the hard way. I'll say something without fully thinking about what it is that I'm going to say, and it comes back to bite me. It's much worse when you do it on a post or in social media, because like you said, when I say something to somebody, that's all that's hearing it, or the people that are around. If you do a social media, it could be hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands of people that are going to jump on it. So it just really to teach your kids that anything that they write, speak, or post, they got to understand that they're responsible for, and they need to know the consequences for, and they need to know the rewards for it too. I mean, I don't think I want it to all be negative, because social media can be extremely positive and can be something that can really help people a lot. But it's got to be, it's something that you have to learn. And unfortunately, most of the time we learn the hard way.
Yeah, definitely. And that leads to number 3, guys, where it's every piece of content is a direct reflection of you. Very similar to if you tweet, it's yours, but whether it's your content or someone else's, every piece of content is a direct reflection of you. So, what you need to realize as a player, especially as a player who's being recruited, programs, nearly every program now has people dedicated person or multiple persons that are dedicated to just looking at their potential recruits' social media or their recruits' social media accounts, because it is very often a truer reflection of a person than actually talking to them these days. Right. Isn't that sad? But it really is, because a lot of people, they put everything out there on social media, and you're seeing, you kind of get to see the true person sometimes, and that's kind of sad that we judge that way instead of in person. But it's what coaches look at, and it was something that I saw a graphic, but there were coaches from Penn State, Duke, and SMU that actually tweeted out publicly that they dropped recruits because of their social media presence. So it wasn't just something they said in the office. These are actual recruiters, coaches from these programs who actually came out on Twitter and said, I just had to drop a guy because he's being an idiot on Twitter, or because he's sharing, inappropriate pictures, or he's, using inappropriate language. And guys, this is the way of things now. So you have to realize that when you put it out there, these programs do a lot of background searching on players. It used to be that they kind of did that more in the NFL because they had more resources to pay people to do that. And it's trickled down now. Colleges are extremely, extremely thorough in looking at everything there is to know about a player. It used to be they would just go talk to your coaches or your parents or, sometimes people in the community. And again, those people don't always see the true person either. You might be able to fool 2 or 3 people. When you put it out on social media and make it public, you can't fool anybody. Don't you agree, Coach?
Absolutely. And I do know that back in my day, it was a long time ago, they did have people that would go and interview people in the community. I found out that, and I didn't know this till later, that some of the people that I kind of knew had somebody give them a phone call and ask about my character and different things like that. So, if today any of that character can get you, cut off quickly. Back then, they kind of maybe weighed, okay, well, it's not that big a deal. We can get him up here. We can work with him, et cetera, et cetera. They're not going to give you that much break these days because it's so much more difficult for them to keep tabs on everything. And I know, it was just an article I read about, that trainer helped kids pass some tests, and I can't remember which university, but Notre Dame. And they said, they had to lose some of their games 2 or 3 years ago. They said they lost all their wins because of this. And, they did say the head coach is not going to be reprimanded but at the same time, a head coach and a athletic director and all those people, they need to know what's going on all around. So if you're screwing around on social media, even if you're just having fun, and you think it's funny and you're messing with somebody, if it's taken the wrong way, these recruiters are going to jump quick and get away from you because they don't want to have their program be the ones that are all over the media because they've done something or brought someone in that was not very smart.
Well, and what you need to understand, guys, is that this is their livelihood. So, their livelihood depends on the decisions they make with the players they bring into this program, into their program. So if they're not bringing in the right players, then, that reflects poorly on them and their judgment. So, they have to make sure that they're finding players, recruits that use good judgment, that have good character. It's more important than ever because these coaches are given a very short leash on having success. So in order to be successful, they have to make all the right decisions, and that includes a kid's character, and not just their athletic ability, because the character things can not only get them in trouble at school, but it can cause serious problems inside your locker room and inside your program as a coach. So it's definitely a big deal, guys. Definitely.
And I remember Dave McClain, our head coach back in the mid 80s, and he told us that, he said, my livelihood, my wife, her home, her food budget, my kids' college, all is heavily relying on 17 to 20-year-old young men.
Yeah.
And he said, that's pretty scary when you really sit down and think about it. And it's true. So they're going to use, guys, read the papers, read the stuff that's out there. They will use it against you. So you 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th graders right now, I know my daughter's a 7th grader and she's all into Snapchat and Musical.ly and all Instagram. And, and I try to tell her on a regular basis, you got to be careful because it can be, it can be something that you don't mean to do, or it can be something just in fun, or you get involved with other kids that are doing some stupid stuff, like, maybe it's talking about drugs, or maybe it's talking about inappropriate sexuality, or it's talking about whatever, and they're doing it. So you think, oh, hey, I'm going to be cool and be like them and get involved in it. Man, if you want to be an athlete in college, if you want to move on, even in high school sometimes, you've got to be careful with this stuff. And I know Steve and I really want you guys all to be successful, and we really, really want you to be able to go to the next level, because we have so many things to be grateful because we did go to the next level, and we would love to see all you guys do that we're really emphasizing this, that it's not a joke. It's not something that you can go, oh yeah, they're going to miss me, or they're not going to notice what I do. Trust me, they're watching you guys. They're watching all the feeds all the time.
Right. And again, can't stress enough. I know a little bit about Snapchat. I know it only stays out there for a day. I know you can send private messages, but again, be careful, because all it takes is a screenshot of something. Someone saves it, you send it to the wrong person, or something gets out, and you guys are going to have problems. So
Steve, there is, I will tell you that I found from one of my kids I worked with, he showed me an app that actually takes the snap of the Snapchat on a separate app, and it saves it so that it doesn't show that somebody screenshot it or whatever it is. But it doesn't show that because this is a separate app that sucks it out of it. So there's ways that even though you're sending a picture that you think is only going to be shown for 3 seconds, if that person has this app, I think it's called Snap Hack or something like that, it'll take anything that you do without you even knowing it, and you think it's disappearing, and they've got the whole entire thing right there on this app. So trust me. Don't do it, guys. Brett Favre got in all kinds of trouble when he did some of the stuff he did. He never thought it was going to go public. Just because it's somebody or somebody that you think you can trust me, just when it comes to the internet stuff and getting out there live, you got to be really careful, because, again, we want you to be successful. So the reason why we're telling you these things is because we've personally, at least myself, I can say I've personally seen a lot of people get harmed and have troubles with internet stuff.
Yeah. All right. So how do we share? How do we post and share safely? Some of the things to think about.
Right.
Number one, be positive. All right. Nobody wants to have a negative person on their team. Okay. Coaches do not want negative people. Okay. So when recruiters are looking at you and you're posting derogatory, negative stuff about your team, about your coach, about your friends, about your family, about whatever, okay? If you're into politics and you're posting negatively about politics, whatever it is, that negativity is something that most people don't want to be around. And I can guarantee you, coaches don't want those kind of things on their team. So you want to make sure that you watch your tone on social media, okay? And the tone meaning, is what you're posting going to be looked at as positive or negative? It's usually pretty simple to figure that out if you're being positive, but just try to keep the negativity to yourself and really work on posting the positive. Now, I would say work on being more positive, period, in life and everything you do, but certainly make sure you stick to the positive stuff when you're thinking about social media. Okay.
And listen, guys, hey, this is an incredibly difficult sport. To be successful and to be great at this sport, it involves right now, high school football is done. It involves right now starting to get ready for next year. So you're going through a lot of work, a lot of stuff that you have to do. And to try and do all those things and be negative and have people around you that are negative makes it almost impossible. I've been on losing teams, and some of those losing teams had a lot of people on it that were complaining and bitching about this and complaining about that. And trust me, it was not fun. And I was begging for something positive. I mean, I think all of us were just like, what can we get that's positive? Well, the one thing I've learned over especially the last few years, but over the last 20 years, is that you can get positive. You can change your mindset into positive by being positive. And so the more you practice it, the more positive you're going to be. So what is really, really important is that you work hard to make yourself more positive. And social media is a great way, in my opinion, to do that, because when I post something positive and I get comments from others or I get private messages from others say, dude, you really helped me today. I was struggling like you wouldn't believe. And you said something that made a whole difference in my life today. That makes me feel good, and that makes me want to do it more. And I think if you get all your teammates in that kind of a mindset, your coaches are going to notice it, your fans are going to notice it, your teachers are going to notice it. Everyone's going to notice that you're going to be a more positive group of people to be around. And I'm telling you right now, and I know I'm biased, but if you watch the Badger coaching staff, the Badger players this year, what they've overcame and what they've done to be number 6 in the whole entire country with 2 losses. I wonder the last time. Yeah, Steve's hat. I wonder the last time someone with 2 losses was number 6 at this stage of the game in the season. That's phenomenal, guys. And these are not superstar players that they have on their team. These are guys that are overachieving. They're listening to what the coaches are saying. They're being positive. You see no negative social media. Everything that they talk about, even all their stars, all they talk about is, okay, we're 0-0. We got to win the next game. It's all positive things that they're working on to help get their other players to lift up. So like when you watch, like when all those linebackers were getting hurt and then the next one just went in and then the next one went in. Guys, that doesn't happen if you're being negative. That's everyone believing in everyone around you, and they're bringing it up. And everything I've read this year in any social media or anything that has to do with Wisconsin football has been all positive. And I think this is a season that people and coaches and people need to look at for future great teams.
Yeah.
So,
well, and that leads into our next couple, and we're going to be quick about these to get out here within our half hour here. But number 2 is be supportive. Think about how you can help others. Coaches just talking about how, those guys are light with each other. They pick each other up when they get injured. And you can even see it on social media if you follow some of those guys where they jab at each other in fun, but they're also there to support each other, which is pretty cool. So, you always want to be there for your classmates, your friends, your teammates. Third thing is share news around your sport, school, or your teammates. So when somebody you respect, somebody you know, somebody you love, somebody you're friends with, they have something special happen in their life, make sure you share that. When there's great news about your school, make sure you share it. When there's great news in your sport, share it. And look for those positive news things that you can share and not the negative. All right, add positivity to the world instead of the negativity, because boy, social media is such a negative place. It has been crazy negative over the last few months, and hopefully we'll get back away from that a little bit. But look at things you can share. They're going to lift people up. News things and interesting things, and things that again are going to lift others instead of knocking them down. Okay, so think about that.
One of the things I think is important too is not just to support your sport, support sports in general. There's a lot of women's sports that are just phenomenal and they're fun to watch. There's a lot of baseball, wrestling, tennis, soccer, all those sports. Those are athletes out there busting their butt trying to get better and improve and be better people. So support it all, guys. Don't just support football. Support all the sports.
Right, and other activities, not just sports.
Yes,
band, have a little bit of pride in your school, and share things in your school, share things in your community. Things that are going to be positive and lift others up. The fourth thing is engage with people you admire. Find those people that you want to act with, or you want to interact with. It might be a celebrity, but you know what? There are a lot of celebrities that will, if you make genuine comments and you try to start genuine or get into their actual discussions, and it's if you follow people closely enough, and I'm not saying to stalk people, but if you follow people closely enough, you can see that they're having conversations out there on social media. If there's a way that you can interact, and get in on and contribute to the discussion, that's a great way to make connections, and that's a great way to, again, add some positivity to something. Look for those discussions that you want to be involved in with the people that you look up to. And I think that's really important because you want to engage with people that you look up to and admire. That's for sure.
And I'll tell you this, that I used to hear it, and when I was a kid, I thought it was kind of hokey, but I'm going to tell you this is a great saying, and it's something that you should pattern yourself after. And it's if you want to become great, you got to hang with the winners. And so when you're on social media, hang with the positive people, the Tony Robbins, Ray Higdon, Mark Harbert, all these guys that are out there that are social media type people. Hang with those guys, because you will not hear them get into an argument, a banter, anything negative. You will just hear them talk about, this is what I do to become positive. This is what I do to get better. They talk about all the things they do to get where they're at. They don't belittle anyone. They don't put anyone down. They talk about what it's like and how to become a winner.
Yeah. And again, there are a lot of athletes that you can look at on social media as role models that are doing the right thing. Absolutely. On social media. They're pushing out content that is positive, it's helpful, it's interactive, and it really shows that they have good character. So they're out there. We only hear about a lot of the negative ones, right? But you can find the good ones too. It takes a little more digging, but it's certainly out there. The fifth one, Coach just kind of mentioned a little bit, is stay out of arguments. Again, as an athlete, whether you're in high school, you're in college, or you're in the NFL, you're going to be a target in the public. It just happens. There are people that are going to, especially if you're successful, if you're a successful athlete, there are going to be people that want to see you fail. That's just part of life. If you're not even an athlete, just a successful person, there are going to be people that want to see you fail. And they're going to pick fights. And they're going to do it on social media because that's the way they have the easiest access to you. So you want to make sure that you don't engage in any of those things. All right? Just ignore them. Block them. Report them. Whatever you need to do. You can do that on all these social media platforms. You can block people. You can report people if they're abusive. Do that, okay? Because it's not right. I have a friend who is a sports reporter down in Chicago, a female sports reporter, and she has taken some incredible abuse on social media to the point where she's literally had to just step away from social media, even though it's her job. She's had to step away from it because people are being literally abusive, scary abusive with the comments they're making. and it's because she's a female sports reporter, and it's sickening, it's sad, and it's horrible. But it's an example of, you know, she always takes the high road. She does not get into arguments with these people, because if you do that, all it does is make more come out of the woodwork, because they say, oh, I can get in on that conversation and rip that person too, you know, or the person that you're in the argument with is just going to push it more and more and more, because that's exactly why they said it in the first place. They want to put you on the defensive. They want to make you look like an idiot, and they want to get in that argument. So that is number one. You need to stay away from any kind of arguments on social media. It will not, you're just not going to, I mean, I know I have friends that get into arguments on social media, and I have to block that post, because I can't listen to it anymore, because they're not getting anywhere. They're just fighting back and forth, and it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't. And as an athlete, you really don't want to do that, because again, that's something a coach is going to look at. If somebody can get under your skin, then guess what? It can happen on the field, and they're not going to want to see that. So it's more than just social media. It's how you handle yourself and the decisions you make that are going to be looked at by recruiters. Okay. All right. So, Coach, that's all I have for the social media, guys. I hope that was informative tonight. It's something that I think is really important, especially starting at the high school level. But again, social media is getting younger and younger and younger. You know, we've got Snapchat, Musical.ly, those kids 10, 11, 12 years old that are all on it constantly. So as it ages down with those things, we're going to be talking to younger and younger kids about these issues. So I really think it's, you know, for right now, middle school and high school kids really need to be aware of this. And certainly anybody going into college needs to have a plan and some guidelines in place of how they handle social media. Wouldn't you agree, Coach?
Absolutely. I think it's one of the, you know, all the schools now are going to like bring your own device, BYOD, you know, they're going to the internet. Curriculum is internet based. My 10-year-old daughter everything she does is on the web, you know, her math programs and stuff, her homework is on the web. So it's something that we have to start doing a better job. Some of us older folks that, you know, never had any of this stuff when we were young, it's important for us to teach our youth the proper way to use it and to hold them accountable to it. You know, and I know there's a lot of different people that think differently, and I don't want to go into it in great detail, but I do think that parents, you got to understand, you're paying for the device, you're paying for the internet. You have the right and the ability to take it away and check and see what they're doing. I think that's something that is something I believe in. There are other people out there that don't believe that, but I think that, you know, if you have an athlete and you are an athlete and you want to go to the next level, get used to people looking at your stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a reality, because the coaches are going to look at it. You know, you're not going to get away with stuff like you think you are. So get used to it. Start working at it now, even though you're young. And, you know, and if it's embarrassing to show your parents, you probably shouldn't be posting it.
Right. Exactly. Good point, Coach.
You know,
and we made that point in the article. If it's not something you're going to share with your mom or your grandma, then don't put it online.
Don't do it. Right.
Just don't do
exactly.
it. It's not worth it. So,
right.
All right. So we're going to end this show tonight, guys. Next week, we have a special guest. Nick Hayden will be with us on Tuesday in the Trenches. We are going to grill Nick about his time at Arrowhead, his time at Wisconsin, his time in the NFL, and really talk to him about, you know, some of maybe the trends he sees in football and his experiences. So we're really looking forward to that. We hope you'll join us. Again, make sure, if you don't have your free membership, you need to get it right now. All right, because we're also going to go do a live Q&A. We're going to do that right now in just a minute here after we wrap up in the private Trench Training community. We're going to do that each week after the show. Next week, we're going to have Nick with us, so you guys can actually ask questions. We're not going to do questions here, Q&A on the show. We're going to do Q&A only after in the Trench Training private community on Facebook. So again, you need a membership to have access to that. It's completely free. So you make sure you want to get in there and get that. Also, Trends Training winter sessions start a week from Sunday. That's December 4th in 2 locations. We're going to be in Loves Park, Illinois, as well as where we were last year in New Berlin, Wisconsin. So we've already got a lot of kids that are registering.
Yes.
We're super excited about getting started. We've got a lot of good stuff, good curriculum set up. Our practice plans are in the works. We'll have them finished up probably this weekend and be ready to go next week. So we're looking forward to seeing you guys out there. You can register online. There was some issues with our Illinois registrations. Those were fixed this afternoon. So hopefully I'm going to be contacting all those people that had some issues, and we'll see if we can get some of those kids registered online as well. So again, thanks for joining us on Tuesday in the Trenches tonight. And we'll see you next week. All right, guys?
Sounds good. Looking forward to it, Steve.
All right.
Play big, guys.
Yep, play big. Coach, you stay
big.
Right there. We're going to be in the private
Yep.
community here in just a second.